Hello, this is Jose Blake Campbell, and today's presentation is on the U.S. presidential elections and social media and the correlation that exists between the two. So, looking at the bottom line for the presentation is to show that the candidate with the most friends or followers online and the most online activity has occupied the White House since the 2008 election. So, media and presidential elections have gone together for a long time, starting with even George Washington and the first presidential election and the newspaper following of that. But probably one of the most recognizable forms of media and presidential elections was in the 20th century during the 1960 debate between Kennedy and Nixon. It was the first televised debate, and those that listened on the radio had said Nixon overtook the debate and was ahead. But everyone that watched on television thought Kennedy was actually the leader of the debate, and that was because Kennedy prepared for the debate to be televised, and he made sure he was well rested and well prepared and went to the studio ahead of time in order to see the lighting and really get a good idea of how much makeup he should have on. While Nixon, on the other hand, was actually hospitalized before the debate and continued to campaign on the road all the way up till the debate, the day of the debate. And this made him look very sickly in appearance, and he had lost nearly 15 pounds while on the road, which made him look thin. And his makeup artist tried compensating for this by putting on too much makeup. Additionally, he was sweating constantly, which could be seen on television, and he was looking at a clock that wasn't able to be viewed by the television audience, so they made it appear that Nixon had shifty eyes and was confused. And all this really led to Kennedy overtaking Nixon in the last final months of the election, and many analysts actually contribute the presidential debate on television to Kennedy's win. And so much so that it took another 16 years for a debate to be televised again, because so many candidates were afraid of the Nixon phenomenon occurring, where you were ahead statistically and politically prior to a televised debate months before the election, and all of a sudden you fell off in the polls. But now in the 21st century, while television still is important and is still used to campaign, still used to run television ads, and the media, especially news, will cover the elections constantly during the campaign periods, another platform has really taken over as the most important platform for media to be used, and that is social media. And we are going to get into that starting in the next slide. So 2008 presidential election was really the first presidential election that showed the importance of social media. While in 2000 and 2004, both of Bush's campaigns did use the internet for personal web pages, social media was still very much in its infancy in 2004. And that was when Facebook was really just starting up, and it was still used by college students, and you had to have a .edu mail to use it, and it was only on campuses. It wasn't something that was bridging beyond that. But by 2008, social media had really become a fabric of American popular society, especially for the youth. While there were some older people that were using the platforms to reconnect with college friends and high school friends and coworkers, the majority of the online users were still relatively young, college-aged individuals. But this allowed for a reach out to that young vote that was never really able to dominate in elections before. So Obama actually made some wise choices early on prior to the campaign starting, and he met with people that were well known within the social media realm. One of these people was Chris Hughes, who was a co-founder of Facebook. And Chris Hughes ended up working for Obama and really leading his social media campaign. And what he did was he ensured that President Obama had all the accounts that he needed to have in order to reach a maximum amount of voters in America, not just American young votes, but American votes throughout. And he also created what was probably considered one of the most important factors in the 2008 campaign, and that was the mybarackobama.com webpage. While Barack Obama did have a campaign site, he also had mybarackobama.com, or as it was known, Mybo. And Mybo was its Facebook page of its own, really a Facebook site of its own, where people could go on and become a follower or a friend and sign up for campaign events and sign up to do house parties and really use that online platform as a means of collecting in the real world and raising money in the real world to affect the Obama campaign. Now, overall, Obama completely dominated over McCain throughout all spectrum of social media. He had over twice the amount of social media accounts than McCain had, and he far surpassed McCain in the number of followers, especially where it counted during that time frame, which was Facebook and MySpace. On MySpace, Barack Obama had 510,799,000 followers, while McCain had 87,652 followers. And on Facebook, the real powerhouse of the 2008 election, Obama had 1,726,453 Facebook friends, while McCain only had 309,591. So Obama was having a much larger following, and he was able to reach a much larger crowd, which is really where social media power comes in. Not only when you post something on social media or social networking are you reaching those friends and followers that you personally have, but you're also able to reach the friends and followers of your friends and followers. So you're really getting a 2 and 3 tier effect on social media, and that was something that Chris Hughes was able to really get across to Obama, and something that Obama took advantage of. And another platform that Obama took advantage of was YouTube. YouTube was looked at as a means of free advertising. Like, although he still used television campaigns and still paid for television ads to be aired on TV, he also used YouTube as a means of advertising and posting videos. And when it was tallied up, the amount of times that a Obama ad was watched or Obama video was watched on YouTube, it would have reflected in real world $45 million worth of television space. So he was able to save that much money by just posting to a free web page. And it obviously worked, because not only did he have the most followers on Facebook and MySpace and throughout all social media, and not only were his videos viewed more and had more people subscribing to his YouTube channel, but he also won the election. So that was the first time that the American population was really able to see the effects of social media in a presidential election. So much so that the 2008 election was named the Facebook election, and President Obama as the Facebook president. Now, when we're going into 2012, as can be seen from Michael Slabby, the Chief Integration and Innovation Officer for the Obama campaign, you're moving into a realm where social media was starting to really take hold. As he says, there was a lot of talk post-08 about it being the social media election, but the reality is Twitter launched during the last campaign and Facebook had less than 100 million users. We are at the very beginning of what it meant to be social. So moving into the 2012 election, you're really being able to reach much more of the population, and not just the young vote, but the vote overall. So looking at the 2012 presidential election, we have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, every real social media and social networking device or platform had grown exponentially in the amount of people that had accounts and how much it was being used. And we're not talking simply by 1 or 2 million. At most cases, it was tens of millions or hundreds of millions. It became a phenomenon, and if you didn't have a social media account, it was one of those situations where people were wondering what was stopping you from having an account and what was stopping you from being part of this global trend, not just an American trend. And lucky for Obama, he was already ahead of the game compared to Romney because he had established himself on social media in 2008 and knew how to use it and had the right people working for him. So he was already ahead in social media and social networking. He'd already gained more followers by being in the White House, whereas Romney was really just starting off on understanding what it meant to be social in the online world and not really in the campaign real world. But he was making an effort to reach, they both got on Twitter a lot more than occurred in the 2008 election, because that was the platform that was really taking hold in 2012. So much so that it was looked at as not so much surpassing Facebook, but as a different means of communicating. You can just post real quick, real 140 texts, and get your point across. And while both presidents used Twitter, they really didn't quite understand yet the real power behind Twitter, which was retweeting and really communicating in that realm by taking comments and posts that friends and followers had made and retweeting them or commenting on them. And instead, they mostly just posted, for Obama, text and sentences, and for Romney, mostly graphics. And also, when they looked at what was posted on Twitter, Obama really focused more on himself and his presidency and talking to the American people about his successes as a president and what he will continue to do for the American population, whereas Romney would really spend a lot of his time saying what he would change, but also attacking Obama. So 34% of his tweets were roughly focused on Obama, which can sometimes come off as people just seeing the name Obama and that's all really they take away, whereas Romney could have used a lot more of his efforts by talking about himself and really trying to connect to the American people as a person and not just as a candidate that's trying to crush another candidate online. And then overall, Obama once again completely dominated the social media platform. He had more friends and more followers, millions more on all the accounts. And as you can see from the statistics, he was far ahead of anybody that was involved in the election whatsoever. And a lot of that, people will say, was because he was the president and he had this grand following in 2008. He only gained in popularity during his first term. But the bottom line is, it was social media and social networking was something that he understood from day one, and something that he knew was important from day one. So he really tried to reach the American people, and he tried to use this social platform to just be in the White House and tweet or post on Facebook or have one of his staffers post and really reach the American population. Because when he has millions of friends and followers, it really translates into multi-millions of people that he can reach, once again, by doing that engagement piece and having his friends and followers repost or retweet something that he has posted or tweeted, or sending a link to their friends of a video that is on his YouTube page or his web page for his election. And that really helps grow his numbers. And again, he far surpassed Romney in friends and followers and activity, and he won the re-election and was able to serve another 4 years as the president. But now, looking ahead for 2016 campaign, during a Fortune's Women's Next Gen Summit in 2015, Alex Wallace, CEO and media strategist, had said, "If you're an introvert in the era of social media, politics is not the field to be in. The consumer wants a one-on-one relationship. and Trump's the person who's engaging with the consumer. So she had already pointed out a year ahead of the election that we've learned how important social media is in the 21st century for politicians, because that's how you really reach the public, and that is how you will always be able to reach somebody. They may not always see your ad, they may not always hear what you're saying on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, but they will get a post, or a friend of theirs will share a post. And Alex, she had realized that Trump was already ahead of the game, right before the election. So looking into the 2016 presidential primaries, which is really where it started, because 2016 there was no incumbent president. It was really bringing a new realm, so to speak, of politicians trying to be president. And again, social media had only grown in the number of followers and the number of accounts that have been created. So in 2016, you're going to reach more people than you would have in 2012, and far more people than you would have in 2008. And it not only became a critical part of the campaign strategy, but it became a necessity. To have a social media account was no longer an option. If you didn't have one, you weren't playing the game. You weren't in the campaign. You weren't really noticed or looked at. So Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders were really the Democratic front runners during the primaries. But as you can see from the image, Hillary Clinton surpassed Bernie Sanders by millions of followers throughout all the platforms combined. She overtook him in popularity online. And this may be because she was already a powerful political figure throughout the United States, having ran for the presidency in 2008 during the primaries against Obama, and really coming close to securing the nomination for the party. And then also serving in the Obama staff and continuing to be a political person and really an activist, helped her establish herself more on social media than Bernie Sanders. So she had already gone into the campaign, the primaries, ahead on social media, and already had a strong following on social media, which gave her that advantage. And then when you transfer over to the Republican side, really looking at Ben Carson and Donald Trump. And Trump is another person who already had a strong social media following before the primaries. He had talked about running for president a couple times. He talked about it in 2008, talked about it in 2012, but he was serious in 2016. And his following really came from him being a personality. He was an American personality. He was the operator of the Trump Towers, businesses all over the United States. He ran pageants, and he was tweeting constantly because of his television show, The Apprentice. So he'd already been very familiar with social media. He already knew how to reach the American population. He knew how to get people stirred up and what to say and who to connect with in order to get his point across. And it showed that he had far surpassed Ben Carson in all social media accounts and platforms. So looking at the numbers with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump having surpassed their other front runners for the nomination, it really wouldn't have been a surprise to know that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were nominated to represent their party in the 2016 presidential election, just by looking at the correlation between the followers they have and their popularity. And that's exactly what happened. And after they were elected to nominate the party, their parties independently, they started growing in numbers. Like millions more followers were just coming because all of a sudden it was real. Like, these are the people that are really going to be the focus of conversation on the television, around dinner tables and offices. I mean, the election really overtook everything, and it was a social media election. The news really was focusing on what was being tweeted by Donald Trump or what was being tweeted by Hillary Clinton. and how many people were following their accounts and retweeting and really engaging with them. And the engagement piece of the 2016 election was really crucial. So while followers and friends were important in the 2008 2012 election and still important in 2016, the engagement piece really became something that was followed in the 2016 election and may have surpassed friends and followers in importance in social media, because not only did you have friends and followers in the millions or tens of millions, but you had the engagement where you were reaching your friends and followers, and you knew that you were reaching your friends and followers because they were reposting what you posted, they were retweeting what you tweeted, and they were reaching their friends and followers, and then their friends and followers were watching videos and reading your posts and then reposting and retweeting again. So much so that your tens of millions of followers turn into another tens of millions of followers with someone else, and you're learning how to reach that wider American voter. People that may have never thought about following a presidential candidate all of a sudden were following a presidential candidate just because someone they knew was very active online and was either a follower or an opponent of the presidential candidate. So even if someone on Hillary Clinton's side was reposting or retweeting something that Donald Trump had said that they disagreed with, all of a sudden that post was still being seen by another couple millions of people. And someone that may have never even considered looking at Trump could have seen something that he posted by following someone that just disagreed with the policy. So when the statistics were looked at, as you can see from the images on the right, you look at the amount of viewers. So Donald Trump had 23 million followers online. And that's just looking at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That's not counting Spotify or Google Plus or any other accounts that aren't as important as those three. And Hillary had 15.3 million. So Donald Trump surpassed her in followers total, and not just total, but on each platform. He had more Facebook, more Twitter, and more Instagram followers than Hillary did in any of those accounts. And then when you look at the graph on the left, you're going to see the engagement piece. And as you can see, Donald Trump surpassed Hillary Clinton in engagement. More people were talking about Donald Trump. More people were reposting and retweeting and sending links and watching links than people were for Hillary Clinton. And that engagement piece really is what took him over the top. And once again, we have in 2016 the candidate with the most friends and followers, and now the most engagement online is the candidate that ended up winning the seat in the White House and winning the presidential election. So from 2008 till 2016, not only has social media played an important role in deciding who will be in the White House, but it's grown in its importance from being a nice to have to a have to have. And now in 2016, we saw it was a critical part of the election, and it may have been one of the factors that really set Donald Trump apart from Hillary Clinton. And this is something that will be continued to be viewed and seen throughout the next presidential elections in the future. So if there is a way that analysts or researchers can look at this problem of the presidential election and try to figure out who will win, who has the ability to take the lead in the election, where they should be looking is not in polls that are being taken over the phone or polls that are being taken through email, but look online at their followers. Look at social media. Look who has the most followers, the most friends, and look at who's engaging the most with the American voter and whose posts and tweets are being reposted and retweeted. If those statistics are looked at, you can see who is most popular in the United States and who will most likely take the election. Thank you.